Right guys, quick one. 30, 40, 50 super. Don't know. We're in Village Island today. I made 2 videos. I'm editing them at the moment inside. There's part 1 and part 2. But this is going to be part 1 and 2 together. So, just in case you've seen them, this is not a repeat. It's part 1 and 2 as one video. Okay guys? Savage stuff, lads! Brilliant! We're here in Village Island, in a small place called Chapeltown, and we've a silage day going on here. It's only a quiet thing. It's only a couple of friends gathered together, but look, there's a lot of friends. There's a lot of friends. We have an absolutely immaculate Moffat up in the pit. We have Fergusons, we've Red David Browns, we've Feats, we've Massies, we've Internationals, we've Counties, we've Roadnesses, we've a Valaris. Watch for the Valaris. Absolutely fantastic. We've a very rare New Holland precision chop self-propel. I think she's for sale. So I think Declan Geary, I think it's Geary's in, I think I got the name wrong in County Clare. Look at this lads, this is brilliant. So we're going to turn the camera and we're going to see what's there, and yeah, let's go for the plan. A Fiat 190, there's some rattle off of that yoke lads. I was actually looking it up last night. The first silage ever cut was actually cut in Germany about 150 years ago. And they introduced silage here to Ireland. Wait till the county comes down, we go over the other side. Now, we go back to the story. We introduced silage to Ireland. I was reading it there last night. In and around the late 40s, there was a very bad winter, and there was an ad taken out in the Farmer's Journal by whoever, I don't really know, and but they were telling farmers about silage and how you could put grass, or you could put potatoes, or put straw, or put they had a big list of stuff you could actually put into silage. And I looked it up about potatoes and spuds, and you can actually chop them up into pulp them more or less and put them into a pit. And what they were recommending at the time was you pulped them, chopped them up and put them into a pit with straw. So we've a County 1164 and a Ford 7000 road that's 4-wheel drive. Cane trailer. I love a cane. First trailer I ever drew silage with, well it wasn't. It was a Kenwooden and a Lee, but I had a brand new cane in 1997. Boys are going next door with the Zetter 8011. And of course, I forgot my GoPro. We're using the phone. My apologies if there's a shake in it, but you get the idea. We follow over the Zetter next door. We have the 8011 Zetter, the Tarrap and the 454 International. The legend is Paul O'Connell driving the Zetter. And, well, I call him a legend too, my own young fella driving the International. It's my father's International. It is fairly windy here. We have a 8011 Zetter, the Tarrap and the 454 International. The legend is his Paul O'Connell driving the Zetter. And, well, I call him a legend too, my own young fella driving the International. It's my father's International. It is fairly windy here. an 85th birthday this year. And international, of course, is Cyrus McCormick, and they have 185th birthday next year. My apologies about the shake again. I forgot my GoPro, left it at home up on the kitchen table. International 454. Like I said, Cyrus McCormick next year. And we're coming now, we have the Zetter again, the 811, and we have the 952 Belarus. 4-wheel drive, 1995, about, what will I say, about 95 horsepower. She's a turbo engine. Belarus tractor, of course. For those of you that know, I have a love for Belarus. They were built in Belarus and Russia. Some fellas don't like them, I like them. Some fellas don't like the Zetter, I like the Zetter. There's not a thing wrong with either of them. The Belarus had a series of bad dealers throughout the last 30 years. That's the man himself, Shane Lyons. Here we have our New Holland self-propel, very early self-propel. And a Fiat, so you want 1090 or 190? I think this belongs to... No, a neat machine. As far as I know, open the correction, but I think this is actually for sale. There's a big ball of grass there. I got caught in the gears and the hitch of the International. Two feet agris. I know there's an immaculate cab for an F130 if anyone wants it. Below on Gavin McCarthy's in Skull in West Cork. What a weapon. She's an immaculate Fiat. You see here, where we are is Village Island, by the way, if I haven't told you already. Famous for the transatlantic cable that went from here, I go up the correction, I think, to Newfoundland in Canada. The biggest ship in the world, he was called the Great Eastern. It was that ship that laid the cable. Here we have our 8111 again and our Belarus. Sorry about the wind again and sorry about the shake. I forgot my camera. So doing it all on the phone. The man of the day, Shane Lyons, driving the tractor. Thanks Shane for the invite. David Brown's around here as well, and there's a few majors, you might see him there during the video. As far as I know, they're actually driving around the Ring of Kerry today, and they're going to go out to one of the, Oakon Mountain, which will be, they'll be the most westerly David Browns in Europe today. Savage looking 990. Red 990. I think they changed the colour up in the correction again. 1964. They became the chocolate and white. All these boys are doing the Ring of Kerry as far as I know, so if you meet him in your travels, or you won't be meeting him today, but if you did meet him, my apologies, I said she was 190, she's a 1990. It's a 11090, and 996 there in front of you to your left. And a good old Belarus again. Thanks again to Shane. Smell of fresh paint off it, boy. There's a fleet of stuff below. There's a lovely major with a. There's a lovely international after arriving in. There's a John Deere here coming against us. There's a yellow 135 with a single chop on it. That is 6.4 John Deere. There's a 6100. I drove a 68 at silage for a while. There comes our County again and the David Brown and the Kid Harvester. Of course, County were built out of necessity for a four-wheel drive. County were a completely separate company to Ford, but they did conversions. They turned them into equal wheel monsters. And Kid, of course, I'm not too sure who bought out Kid, but I was talking to Kid himself, the new Kid, in Lama last year, and whoever had Kid actually had to sell the company because of, I suppose, whatever competition authority made him sell off the name Kid. Massey Ferguson and David Brown. Of course, David Brown made the first gearboxes for Massey Ferguson, and believe it or not, the David Brown company is still in operation, and David Brown are still making gearboxes for the very newest of the Massey Fergusons. They're still there. The original company is still there. I think that right, David Brown, I'm open the correction. I think he's from Kilkenny. A long way to Village Island. Single chop harvester, for those of you who don't know. It just basically hoovers it straight up. Oh no, sorry, that's a double chop. My apologies, that's a double chop. Hoovers it up, back into a kind of a blower that chops at a chopper box and up and out the chute. Have we any single chops here? Oh, there is one below. Massey and the David Brown again. Massey Ferguson, of course, bought out of Harry Ferguson in Northern Ireland, an Irishman, and he teamed up with David Brown to make the first tractors. He teamed up with Ford to make the Ford Nan, the Ford and the Ferguson system. Then he broke out on his own with a Continental engine, and then he joined up with Massey Harris, a Canadian company, and Massey Harris actually bought Ferguson, and they eventually dropped the name Harris. And for another stupid piece of information, the gold belly in the 35X, the gold belly in the 35X is actually the gold from Massey Harris, and the red is the Ferguson. Here comes the International again, and the man of the moment himself, Shane Lyons with Forza Major. What a fleet of gear coming, lad. David Brown now, of course, part of the Ford, part of the Case company. Massey Ferguson, kind of out on his own here. The rest of them are all in one family now. I done it there with the Brogan video. I've made a part 1 and a part 2, and eventually I put up part 1 and part 2 as the same video. So that's exactly what I'm going to do with this. We're up nearly 20 minutes now, maybe a bit more, and I'm going to make a part 2, 2 separate Fridays, and then I'm going to make a part 2, like I said, 2 separate Fridays, and then I'm going to put them both together on a Wednesday. Put them up together over Wednesday. And of course, here's our single chop. For those of you who don't know, this would have been the very first of the harvesters. The first self-propel, the first harvester was built by Class. The first self-propel, I think, was also a Class. Massey Harris had the first combine, Massey Harris 20. But with one of these going well, you'll be very lucky. You'll be flat out to do about 7 acres in the day. That's a handsome restore tractor. I'm going to walk over to the pit and we'll see what's happening inside there. Moffat, of course, built out of, some of them are built out of Ford conversions, more of them are built out of Massey Ferguson conversions. This is the Massey Ferguson, they have a 390. Moffat, of course, an Irish company, still making forklifts to this day. They have a round tipping load here, 995. Nice 880. .996. I tell you one thing, the boys in the pit are under pressure. Class, of course, German company, family owned. I think Class actually had the first, like I said, I think Class were the very, very first of the self-propels. That is a handsome looking Moffat. Red rock buck rake in the front of it. David Brown, what a lot of silage these boys would have drawn. Seven 610 in below. Series 3 making her very late 80s or early 90s. Like I said, lads, we'll do part 1 and part 2 and we will put the two of them together then as well. I don't think that's his first day in the pit. What do you reckon, lads? Davy Brown going to roll in the pit would have been a very, very common practice going back in the, I suppose all along, there would be a tractor on the pit for rolling it. We used to cut silage for a fella and he used to put, I think there's a red Davy Brown actually, onto the pit, and he'd be constantly rolling as we were putting up silage. And to be honest, I said there was absolutely no need, but he was such, I suppose, a habit or such used to doing it since he started cutting silage probably in the 70s. He just continued doing it right up until the day he gave up farming. First class tractors. This last started out, what did they start? Making kind of milk separators. They came a long way since. Alright guys, that's kind of it. That's kind of into part one. We have a massive section of the field here. There's still a big heap of a field over here. Give a like, give a subscribe. Like I said, look out for part two. Cheers guys. Lynch Island with Shane Lyons and Co. Silage day, single chops, double chops, precision chops, every kind of a chop. We're going to turn the camera and give a look at what's here. There's some savage gear here. Like I said, part one, part two. I'll put the two of them together up next Wednesday evening if you want to watch both of them together. Alright, let's go. An immaculate 135 industrial. You know, I don't see a real industrial or not. My apologies to the owner, but I think the real industrial had disc brakes with a single chop tarp harvester side mounted. I reckon it would take about a full day to cut about 7 acres of one of these. And I believe it because he's filling that trailer since the first video. International 454, my father's tractor. My young fella driving it. He's as happy as a pig in shit. You see the difference here? I know I told some of you the story before. I did say it in the first video. Silage was, they came up the idea of silage first in the 1850s in Germany, and they introduced it here, I would say in the 1940s. There was an ad in the Farmer's Journal in 1948 explaining to farmers what to do, and they were just advertising to put in grass, and there was another part of the ad telling you to put in potatoes. and straw. But you'd have to obviously chop the potatoes and mix them together or do whatever. And you could do with barley and oats as well, as long as you said you didn't leave them go fully ripe. And of course, the first silage cut in Kerry that I know of was behind by the McKillicuddies in Beaufort. And what actually happened was sometime in the 50s, they had a very, very bad year the previous year. And I suppose hay was at a scarcity. And they dug a big pit in the ground. They dug a big pit in the ground and they just threw the grass into the pit. I suppose that time it was probably cut with, if they had just horse-drawn mowing bars, and they covered it with rocks and Yosidons and furze bushes and everything they could get. And apparently it was a bit of a laughing matter. The fellas thought it was the queerest thing they'd ever seen up until that point. And apparently when they went to open the pit, I suppose September, October, when you'd be going to open your silage pit, apparently people came from all over to see it. And probably came from all over to laugh at them. My father's below there, and my father told me that the first silage he ever saw cut was behind in Derrymore in West Kerry. And what it was a mowing bar on the back of a David Brown and a cock lifter. And the contractor was Michael Graney, and he drew the silage into the yard, and once it got into the yard it was your problem to put it into a pit. There's some amount of gear here, lads. This is absolutely fantastic. County again, like I said maybe in the previous video. County with their own company. They were nothing to do with Ford as such. What they did was build conversions out of necessity, whatever, for farmers. They wanted a more powerful four-wheel drive tractor that wasn't available, and I suppose County then eventually built, I think, the 8-1 for Ford, and after that then Ford started making their own four-wheel drives. Nice 6-1 John Deere as well. I was talking to Kid actually in Lama. Kid, believe it or not, are still on the go. They're not making harvesters anymore, but they're still there. Part of the one family now. New Holland, Fiat Agri, Ford, David Brown, Case. Again, like I told you, I forgot my GoPro, so my apologies for the shake. It was very windy earlier on, but the wind seems to have calmed down a bit. New Holland actually built the world's biggest self-propel in the, I would say, the 1980s, the 2100, late 70s, early 80s, and it was the biggest self-propel available for up to 5 years. The problem was it was too big, and there was 5 of them sold in Ireland, but the problem, like I said, the problem was it was fine selling them, but there was actually nothing to take from in the yards. There was no loading shovels at that size at the time. Lads, we're going well now. I have a mouthful of grass. All the people gathering. Ah, lads. Alright guys, that's kind of it. We'll finish out with the single chop trallop. The wind is against him. The idea was you can actually take off the harvester with a pull of a pin and just disconnect the PTO, and you'd leave the trailer on and you'd cut the trailer into the yard and tip it. That's kind of it, lads. What I'll do there is I have a heap of stuff that has been sent to me already. I'll add it on to the end of the video, and brilliant day. Thanks very much to Shane. Thanks to everyone that came here, and we'll see you all next year. We'll see you all in the next video. No lads, that's it. Thanks everyone. And actually that Moffat is actually for sale. So leave in the comments, and yeah. Okay guys, I'm going home. I have 2 hours drive home. Alright lads, that's it. Thanks for watching. If this is part 2, I'll put part 1 and 2 together as a video next Wednesday, and yeah, we'll go from there. Alright guys, give a like, subscribe, we'll see you all in the next one.